Hello class, today we're going to talk about gerunds. Okay, so what is a gerund? Well, a gerund is a noun made from a verb. Now, I want to be clear about what I mean by that. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, it's still a verb in essence. So this is where a lot of confusion happens. Let's say, for example, it's Halloween, and I decide to dress up like a boy. So I'm still a girl. I'm just dressed up like a boy. So I look like a boy from the outside, but I'm still a girl. That's kind of an analogy about what a gerund is. It's dressed up to look like a noun, it's made to look like a noun, it's made to function like a noun. But in essence, it is still a verb. Okay? So how do we form a gerund? Well, we take the verb and we add ing. Now that's the base form of the verb. We take the base form of the verb and we add ing. Okay. Now, what I want to do here is I want to make sure we can distinguish between a gerund and the present progressive, because sometimes some of us have some difficulty telling the difference between a gerund and the present progressive. So here, this is the present progressive. I am watching TV. The gerund would be I like watching TV. So you see here with the present progressive, we have the verb to be plus the verb with ing, the ing form, which is called the present participle. But here we have a verb plus the present participle, okay? And this verb is not to be. This verb is to be, this verb is not to be. Okay, so that's one of the main differences between present progressive and a gerund. Present progressive, this is what you're doing. I am watching TV, so this is a verb. I like the action of watching TV, so I'm not watching TV right now, but I like doing that. And so that's a gerund, where it's functioning as a noun. Same thing here. I am swimming. Okay, this is what I'm doing right now. But as a gerund, we could say the best exercise is swimming. What's the best exercise? It's swimming. What do I like doing? Watching TV. So here they're functioning as nouns. Okay. So now let's take a look at the different types of gerunds. So first, we have gerunds acting as subjects. Okay? So a gerund can often act as the subject of a sentence. For example, swimming is fun. What is fun? Swimming. Okay, so this is the subject of the sentence. It's acting like a noun, it's functioning like a noun, and like the subject of the sentence. So that's one way, and it's a very common way that we see gerunds. Another common function of gerunds is as objects. So a gerund can function as the object of a sentence. For example, I enjoy swimming. I enjoy what? I enjoy swimming. So whenever we can ask what about the verb, that's usually the object. It's the object of this verb. It's the receiver of the action. What do I enjoy? I enjoy swimming. So again, it's functioning here as a noun. So that's the second pattern that we often see with gerunds, is gerunds acting as objects. Another common function of gerunds is gerunds as complements. So we can see gerunds as subject and object complements. So, for example, my favorite sport is swimming. Here, this is a subject complement. It's complementing the subject, my favorite sport. My favorite sport is what? Swimming, okay? But the verb to be is, it's an intransitive verb, so it cannot take a direct object. Therefore, this is not an object, it's a complement. It's a subject complement. It's complementing the subject. My favorite sport is swimming. Okay? So, this is another pattern that we see. When we see swimming like this after the verb to be, again, we need to be able to distinguish this from the present progressive. So I'm not saying he is swimming or I am swimming. I'm saying my favorite sport is swimming. So it's functioning again as a noun. And that's a subject complement. An object complement is where we have the gerund complementing the direct object. So here, some people have difficulty learning grammar. So the first verb here is have, and the direct object of that is difficulty. So now learning is complementing difficulty. They have difficulty doing what? Learning grammar. Okay, so that's an object complement because it's complementing the object of the sentence. We might also call this an indirect object. Okay, so these are two other ways that we can see gerunds as subject and object complements. Okay, another common way that we see gerunds is with the verb go. Okay, this is to talk about recreational activities. And I want to emphasize that because for some reason, sometimes students have trouble understanding what this means, what recreational activities are. And they think they can just always put a gerund with go, like I go playing or something like that. And that doesn't work. I go riding. No, it doesn't work. It has to be a recreational activity, like swimming, jogging, running, hiking, boating, skiing, any kind of recreational outdoor activity, camping, bowling. So that's an indoor activity, but any type of, it's not a sport, but swimming is a sport, but it's not a game. Like you play soccer, but you would go swimming. You play golf, you would go running. So that's a recreational activity. And this is when we see gerunds with go. So I go swimming once a week. That's an example of go plus the gerund. Okay, so another common pattern of gerunds is after prepositions. Now this is a really good one because it's one of the distinguishing factors between infinitives and gerunds. You cannot have an infinitive after a preposition. You can only have gerunds after prepositions. So now the confusing aspect of this is confusing the preposition to with the infinitive. So let's take a look at that, okay? I look forward to meeting you soon. So we couple this verb, I look forward, with the preposition to. I look forward to meeting you soon. But here, I can't wait to meet you. This is not a preposition. This to here is part of the infinitive. So we have to be able to distinguish these two. When to is part of the infinitive and when to is a preposition. That's probably the most difficult part about this pattern, this gerund pattern with prepositions. So when the preposition is something else, like for, or with, or by, or at, or anything like that, then it's a lot easier to know that the gerund comes next. But when it's to, we often have trouble with that. So the best way to figure that out is to understand verb preposition patterns. Okay? So here, can't wait, this doesn't have a preposition pattern. It doesn't go with a preposition. But look forward, it does. I look forward to meeting you soon. Okay? Okay, now another wonderful aspect of gerunds is this possession, okay? Again, this can be sometimes a little confusing, but it's a great way, it's another great way to distinguish gerunds with infinitives, because infinitives do not come after possessive pronouns or possessive nouns. Only gerunds, okay? We only use gerunds after possessive nouns and pronouns. So now, here are some examples of that. And this is an old student, so you guys probably won't know who this is. But Yazid's forgetting to bring a pencil to class drives me crazy. Now, the thing is, and this is probably where you might have some confusion, is that in informal speech, we usually hear this as Yazid forgetting to bring a pencil to class drives me crazy. Oftentimes, the apostrophe S gets dropped in informal speech, but that is incorrect. You need to have that apostrophe S there, okay? Yazid's or his forgetting to bring a pencil to class drives me crazy. You can't say him forgetting to bring a pencil to class drives me crazy, because that would be an object verb. An object pronoun. Him is an object pronoun. So you would have to have that as an object of a sentence, not a subject. So this needs to be possessive. Again, this is actually a bad example, because her is the same as a possessive pronoun and an object pronoun, but if we replace her with him and say, instead of her, if we say his, okay, then this would be, I am surprised by his remembering to do his homework. Well, let's do that too. His. Okay, so now we can tell the difference, because this is not him. I am surprised by him remembering to do his homework. No, we don't say that. Again, in informal speech, a lot of the time you will hear it with the object pronoun, but that's a bastardization of English. It's not correct. It's completely incorrect. You have to use the possessive pronoun. Okay? I am surprised by his remembering to do his homework. Okay, now what are the possessive pronouns? Let's take a look at that. Okay, I'm going to type these in for you here. So we have my, your, his, her, its, our, and their. Okay, let's see if we can make this a little bit bigger so that, oops, so that we can see all of it. Sorry. Okay, there we go. All right, so these are the object pronouns. I'm sorry. These are possessive pronouns. Remember, we're using possessive pronouns, not object pronouns here. Okay? So my, your, his, her, it's, our, and their. Okay? You could alternatively just use the name with apostrophe S, like here. Yazid's forgetting to bring a pencil to class drives me crazy. Or you can use one of these possessive pronouns. My, your, his, her, its, our, or their. Okay. Okay, so now here's where we get into something a little bit different. Many of you have seen gerunds and infinitives before in previous levels, but we haven't ever talked about past gerunds in previous levels. This is the first time we're going to talk about past gerunds. Okay, so what is a past gerund? Well, we use a past gerund. We use past gerunds, which is having plus the past participle, to emphasize the difference in time between two actions, or to show that an action occurred before the action of the main verb in the sentence. So let's look at some examples. I don't regret having moved to DC. So I am emphasizing the difference in time between my regret and the fact that I moved to DC, which was a long time ago. With gerunds, in many cases, as it says down here, it's also correct to use a simple gerund. I don't regret moving to DC. Here, both of these work, but that won't happen all of the time. And there is a question on the level test about this. So it's something that you definitely need to understand and keep in mind when you're going to take the level test, because it's a question that usually students get wrong. So there's a difference in time here. Oftentimes you'll see the other verb is in the past. So it's like almost like when you're using the past perfect. You have the action occurring before the other action in the past. Now here I'm using it with the present, and that's okay. I can do that too. But it's still emphasizing the difference between the two actions. I don't regret having moved to DC. Okay? So I'm emphasizing that this was a decision, or this was an action that happened a long time ago. And again, the structure is having plus the past participle, always. Okay? Now, we can also have passive gerunds. This is also something that's new. Okay? They can occur in passive form. So, what does that mean? Now, you may have heard or seen gerunds like this before, but never realized that it was actually a gerund. So now I'm going to tell you that it is, and I'm going to explain to you what it's all about. So gerunds can also occur in passive form. The present is being plus the gerund, and the past is having been plus the past participle. So let's look at some examples here. I'm going to show you the difference between active and the passive. Now, with gerunds, you can't change an active sentence to passive the same way that you do a regular active sentence to passive. But you can definitely tell the difference. So here, I like inviting people over for dinner. I'm the one who's doing the inviting. I'm the one who's doing the action. Now, the passive gerund, I like being invited over for dinner. Here, I'm not the one who's doing the inviting. I'm not the one who's doing the action. Someone else is inviting me. They're doing the action. So that's why it's passive. So we have the difference between inviting and being invited. Now, this doesn't work with all verbs, but there are a lot of verbs that this does work with, where you can do the action or the action can be done for you. Now remember, a verb can only be used in the passive if it is transitive, meaning if it can have a direct object. If it cannot have a direct object, then you can't use it in the passive. Okay, now let's take a look at the past gerund down here. So here you see this is past. I didn't like his ignoring me. Okay, so here we see this is something that he was doing. He was ignoring me. I didn't like that. Now here, another way of saying this in the passive would be, I am upset about having been ignored by him. Okay, so he ignored me, active, and here, I am upset about having been ignored by him. Okay, so having been ignored means I was ignored by him. Okay, so that is where you see the passive as a gerund. Okay, and like I said before, you can't directly change an active sentence to passive using gerunds the same way that you can, like, you know, I love you, you are loved by me. It doesn't work the same way by changing the positions of the subject and the object and then changing the verb. With gerunds, it works a little bit differently. It's more like the idea of it. Inviting versus being invited. Ignoring versus having been ignored. Okay? So, that is passive gerunds. And I think that's it. Yes. So this table, you should have this table, okay? And I will give you that in class. And this is just kind of a summary of everything that we just went over. Okay, so you see the function as a subject. Where's my pointer? The function as a subject. It's used as a subject of the sentence. Swimming is fun. As an object. Object of the sentence. I like swimming. As a complement. Used as a subject and object complement. The best sport is swimming. Some people have trouble learning grammar. Go plus gerund. Used with go for recreational activities. I go swimming once a week. Prepositions. I look forward to meeting you. Possession. Yazid's forgetting to bring a pencil to class drives me crazy. I'm surprised by his remembering to do his homework. I changed it here. Past. I don't regret having moved to D.C. Passive. I like being invited over for dinner. I'm upset about having been ignored. Okay? So that's just a summary table, or a table that summarizes everything that we just went over. So please make sure that you do your homework assignment, or at least look at the homework, and then check your answers on the website below this video, and then post questions if you have them. Thank you. Bye.